friends. Welcome to the next lesson of Political Science Plus 1 for English medium students, and today's topic is relationship between political science and economics. There is a close relationship between economics and political science, and economics actually was part of political science and was known as political economy. So we are going to study a relationship between political science and economics. So let's move ahead. This is me, MD Alam, and about me, right? But let's move. Introduction of the topic. As I had told you that the introduction will remain the same for all the topics of this chapter, that is the relations of political science with other social sciences. So it is same. Man is a social animal, and living in society he does so many activities which are social, economical, political, religious, and moral, and ethical, cultural, psychological, etc. These all are the activities man does as a social being. Political activity is one of the activity that he does as a social being. So political science deals with the political activities and political behavior of the man's life, whereas other social sciences deal with the other aspects or activities or behavior of man's life. History deals with the past activities of man. Sociology with social activities of man includes all aspects of man's life: religious, political, economic, cultural, everything. Economics with economic activities of man, ethics with moral activities of man, psychology with psychological activities of man. But all activities or behaviors of men are not studied in isolation. Isolation means वखरा करके, अलग करके, एकांत च नहीं पढ़ा जाता है. They are interrelated. These subjects are dependent on one another for fully comprehension of man's activities. All social sciences have one relation or the other with other social sciences, as they all deal with the man's behavior. Here we will study the relations of political science with history, sociology, ethics, economics, and psychology. These subjects are dependent on one another for fully comprehension of man's activities. Right? So let's study political science and economics. Political science and economics are in close relationship. Earlier, economics was part of political science and it was known as political economy. As political science deals with the political activities, behavior of man's life, in the same way economics deals with the economic activities or economic behavior of man's life. It is concerned with the following activities of the man. Means economics is concerned with the following activities of man. It is concerned with the production of wealth, exchange system, exchange of wealth or barter system, distribution of wealth, distribution of wealth, consumption of goods produced. Both activities are activities of man's. Both activities means here political activities as well as economic activities. Both activities are the activities of man. No activities of man can be studied in isolation. They have influence on one another. So एकांत विच अलग करके नहीं पढ़ाया जा सकता. Cannot study these subjects in isolation. A relationship exists among all kinds of activities of men. So does economic activities too. to economic activities to deals somehow involve or have impact of other activities, right? So if we ask of relationship between economics and political science, there is a close relationship between the two. In earlier times, economics was taken to be the part of political science and was known as political economy. Adam Smith, the father of economics, made it an independent subject only in 18th century. Let's have some definitions. According to Marshall, economics is on one side a study of wealth, and on the other and more important side a part of study of man. It is study of wealth, right? It studies production, distribution, right? Exchange, trade, etc. But at the same time, it also studies the behavior of man in economic activities, right? Hope the view of Marshall is clear to you. Next is according to Robinson. Robinson says economics is the science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means, and which have alternative uses. The relationship between ends and means are scarce. Scarce means cut. Actually, we have so many needs and the resources are limited. So to achieve our ends, our desires, we have certain means, and those means are limited, and those scarce resources or means have alternative uses. So it is how those scarce means will be used for the maximum utilization, for the maximum satisfaction of the people, for the maximum satisfaction of the want of the people. It is the study of that, according to Robinson. So once again, according to Robinson, economics is the science which studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means which have alternative uses. Hopefully the definitions are clear to you. Now we will study the contribution of political science to economics. First point is, for economics prosperity and prosperity and progress, political stability is essential. What does it mean? If there is peace in the state, there will be progress. People will get rich, they will get time to do economic activities, cultural activities, other activities too. So it is very important, if people is to prosper or is to become prosperous, stability is required. What kind of stability? Political stability is required. Next point is, political science lays down a principle essential for political stability. How we can secure political stability? It has certain principles, and who lays down these principles? Political science. If we talk about here, you can take example of Western countries, European countries. They have been quite economically prosperous. A reason? They have political stability. Economically, they have progressed with the time, because there were not upheaval as we certainly face in South East Asian countries. So political science lays down principles essential for political stability. Next point is, all economic policies are framed by the state. Now, in which directions the economic system of the country will move, and what kind of rules and regulations will be there to proper functioning of the economic system. For that, government makes policies, and government has coercive power, authoritative power to get those policies enforced. And in any case, if any organization and individual doesn't obey, she shall be punished by the state. So all the policies are made by the state, and people are bound to obey that. So this is the next contribution of political science to economics. Next is, all economic policies are enforced by the state, and the state has the coercive power to get its will enforced. Now, the coercive power, authoritative power, a state only has, and the policies are enforced by it, and it only can enforce it authoritatively. No other organization can do this. Next is, which economic system is to be adopted is subject matter of political science. There are so many economic systems: capitalistic economy, Marxist economy, socialistic economy, mixed economy, Gandhian way of economy. So these kind of economic system is followed in different countries, and it depends on the political system, right, and the state, which economic system it wants to adopt. So which economic system is to be adopted is subject matter of political science, because politics is involved there, right? Hopefully this is clear to you. Now, economic system is laid down by the state. So as we followed initially mixed economy, then after 1991 we started adopting we started liberalizing ourselves. So it is up to the state, right? So they state lays down the structure of economic system, and the structure and the economic system that would be followed in the state is determined by the state. All economic problems have political solutions. Whatever the economic problems are there, right, they cannot be solved by themselves. Disputes regarding working hours, disputes about the wages, the salaries, dispute about the better condition of the work, dispute about the price rise, right, unemployment and strike, lockouts, all these disputes have political solutions. So all economic problems have political solutions. Hopefully the point is clear to you. All economic problems are subject matter of political science also. So all these problems are studied, economic problems are studied in political science, as disputes are solved through political processes only, and it becomes the part of subject matter of political science. State makes rules about the consumptions and distribution, right? State, it is matter of, or it is the state who will make rules, who makes rule about the consumption and distribution. One industry, one organization, one living person cannot do this. State regulates the consumption of the essential goods. States also regulate the demand and supply and price to maintain proper balance between demand and supply. States sees into it, looks into it, that whether supply is as per the demand or not, or if there is demand, supply is also given or not. Then coming to the next point, state maintains proper balance between demand and production. Demand and production. See, if the demand is enormous and goods produced are less, then the price will increase. If there is no demand and the production of goods is too much, then the price will decrease, there will be loss. So all these matters are looked into by the state maintains proper balance between the demand and the production. In case of production is less than the demand, then the condition of scarcity will prevail and the price of the goods will increase. So these are the matters state looks into. In fact, whole economic system is regulated by the state. Hopefully it is clear, right? It was the contribution of political science to economics. Now moving to the next, we will study the contribution of economics to political science. There is a relationship between economic condition and political condition of man. Yeah, no doubt. If a man is economically sound, his interest in politics will be there, and he will cast his vote properly. He will even fight elections. But if he is economically not sound, he is hand to mouth. He will be after his roti kapda and makan, basic necessities. So there is a relationship between economic conditions and political condition of man. Next, poor man remains more possessive towards more passive towards political activities. Poor men are less interested in political activities. They would go on to earn their wages and earn their living instead of taking political participation in certain matters. So we have seen from our experiences that political leaders and the political participations generally come from middle class or upper middle class, and leadership come from upper middle class and the middle class, not from the poor class or underprivileged class. So only a few leaders have been produced by underprivileged class. So this point hopefully is clear. Poor man remains more passive towards political activities. He is after about his basic necessities only. Economic inequality gave birth to dissatisfaction, leading to a revolution. Now, economic inequality, basically it is considered by some, for example by Karl Marx, Marxist thinkers say that it is the root cause of all evils, economic inequality, and due to this revolution takes place. Marx has given a theory of revolution according to it also, that how economic dissatisfaction will lead to the revolution. So it leads to, generally when you have nothing to lose, you fight to win. So it leads to revolution. Economic discontentment leads to upheaval and revolution. It is the same if you talk about French Revolution, Russian Revolution, Chinese Revolution. It was basically the discontentment among the people of these countries. Because of that, revolution occurred in those countries, and people were not satisfied. Right? It was due to economic inequalities and economic discontentment. Next point is economic system influences the policies of the government. Yes, whatever the policies are framed, it is done taking into consideration the economic system prevailing in the country. If there is a liberal system, if there is Marxism system, socialist system, imperialistic system, accordingly the policies are framed for the betterment of the economic system and those who are governing. Right? So it is economic system influences the policies of the government. Accordingly, next point is economic system also influences the political ideologies of the government. There are different political ideologies: liberalism, Marxism, socialism, colonialism, imperialism, right? Gandhiism also. So basically the conditions of particular time makes thinkers, scholars to give certain ideologies, and those conditions are can be about this. Those conditions are basically social conditions, and economics is one of the important condition which leads to production or making of political ideologies. And the economic system also influences the political ideologies of the government, right? So next point is political ideologies are the outcome of economic conditions. Yeah, if we talk about socialist ideologies or economic Marxist ideologies, they are actually outcome of economic conditions, no doubt. Hopefully these points are clear to you. Then economic prosperity is must for the success of democracy. If you want the democracy to be successful, the prosperity of the people is very important. Then only they will take part in the political activities. If democracy is to be successful, then economic prosperity is must. That is why we see that economically developed people take active part in political activities, whereas poor people, those who are not able to even fulfill their basic needs, are not that much participant in the political activities. Poor people are more concerned about their daily needs than taking part in politics. Hopefully these points are clear to you. Next, economic activities led to the origin of the state. And if we talk about how state originated, it was due to economic activities. People first were gatherers, hunters, then they started settling on a particular field, and when they started agriculture, right, it was then only that society started developing, and after that state started taking its shape, right? So we can say that when the people adopted the profession of agriculture, they settled down on some particular land. As a result, they started doing some economic activities and exchange activities, production activities and exchange activities, and due to that economic warfare started among them. And for smoothly running of that system, rules were framed, right, to regulate the things. Economic system basically, and state and government came into existence. This way economic activities led to the origin of the state. Hopefully the contribution of economics to political science is clear to you. Now moving to difference between political science and economics. What is the difference? Main difference is in the subject matter. Political science is the study of state, government and influence on it, and the behavioral aspects, organization, institution, right? Whereas economics is mainly concerned with the study of wealth, that is production, consumption and distribution, etc. So there is difference in their subject matter. Next is difference in their methods of studies. If we talk about economics is more scientific in comparison to political science. Political science is more philosophical. If we try to deduce some result, economics will give more scientific result and accuracy, whereas political science is concerned with what should be there, and scientific investigation is 100% not possible here, because it deals with the those behavioral aspects which is uncertain, with those behavioral aspects of the man which are uncertain, right? So conclusion can easily be made that in economics, right, economics is more scientific and political science is more philosophical. Sorry. If we talk about the drawing of conclusion, in economics it is easy to draw conclusion, whereas in political science it is not that. Prediction made in economics are generally true but not in political science. Yes, if you talk about that what will happen after calculating certain stats in economics, it is possible to predict, whereas in political system which is mainly concerned with the political behavior and political activities of the man, which keep on changing. It is difficult to make prediction. That's it. Difference between political science and economics. Now conclusion. So concluding, we can say that both are directly or indirectly related to activities of man. Yeah, it is the activity of man, behavioral aspects of man. Next is both are for the betterment of mankind. Yes, both want to make people happy and bring peace and prosperity, and both deals with past, present and future. The method of study of both is analytical. Yeah, political science and economics analyze their own works and accordingly try to improve for the future, but both are autonomous subjects. Though political science was earlier, though economics was earlier the part of political science and was known as political economy, but it is now autonomous subjects. So both subjects are autonomous. At the end, we can say that William Eslinger has rightly said that integration of economics and politics must be taught in course and in lower classes. Right? UNESCO in 1952 recommended that in the course of study, political science and economics should be taught together. So both are very important and both should be taught at the lower level together, but at higher level, graduation level and or further higher level, separate subject as a separate subject. So there is a great relationship between both these subjects. Hopefully you got it. Thank you. And now here I would like to request you to like and share my videos, as also subscribe the channel so that other can you can get the notifications for the next videos that I'll upload. And along with that, I would request you to share with your friends that they so that they also can get benefit from it. Thank you. Take care. Goodbye.